Welcome to the Write, Publish, Market podcast. If you're a business owner thinking a book would be a great marketing asset for your business, you're in the right place. Maybe you've already committed, even better. I'm your host, Jodi Brandon, book publishing strategist and partner for business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs, and 20-plus year veteran of the book publishing industry. On the Write, Publish, Market podcast, in addition to learning from me and other industry experts, you'll hear from other business owners about their experiences as we explore all facets of writing, publishing, and marketing a book that will help your business grow in ways you might not even be dreaming of yet. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome back, business owners. Let's talk today. Let's expand a little bit on what we talked about last week. So if you caught last week's episode 213, we talked about how your book should be a quote unquote supporting actor, not your signature offer, but a supporting product in your business ecosystem. So if you haven't listened to that episode, you might want to go ahead and listen to that. We're going to sort of dive a little bit deeper and talk today about why book sales are the wrong metric for business owners most of the time. Now, I'll give this the same caveat that I did last week, where this will look a little bit different if you're a professional author or even a professional speaker using a book as a marketing tool. But for most business owners, book sales are the wrong metric. Now, I understand that we default to book sales as a success metric for book writing because that's the metric used in traditional publishing. So that's what we know. That's what we've heard. It's visible. It's trackable for the most part. So that makes it easy to default there. But for business owners, book sales don't usually tell us very much about the success of a book. A book could be low in sales, but super high performing strategically. And that's going to depend on what your goals are for your book. So getting those, again, dialed in, the earlier, the better, so that you know what you should be looking at. So I get asked a lot of times, okay, if it's not book sales, then what is it? So it's, again, that's going to depend on your particular goals for your book within your business. But here are a few. Let's talk about a few that you could be looking at. And hopefully this will sort of get the wheels turning for you if it isn't these things. But client conversion sales cycle. You've likely heard me say before that a book in general shortens that sales cycle because it speeds up the know, like, trust factor that people need as you're nurturing them through some sort of sequence to get them from, followers to buyers. So ask yourself that. Is this quicker if someone has read my book? How so? Think about how you can speed up that timeline for people. Another one is visibility opportunities. Whether that's in-person speaking, virtual speaking, in, summits, things like that, coming in and teaching in someone's membership or like a guest expert in a course module, something like that, podcast appearances, joint venture opportunities and partnerships. Are you getting more inquiries? Are you getting more bookings when you're doing these things? I would bet that you find that you are. I have worked with very, very few people, and I'll include myself here as someone who's also, using a book as a marketing tool. The more visible that you are in front of new audiences also, the more inquiries you're going to get, the more people get into your ecosystem and move through your sales cycle. So that's one that you definitely want to pay attention to. Another one is lead generation, right? Are more people clicking through? Are more people getting onto your email list? Are more people booking a call or whatever this call to action is that you have throughout your book? At the end of the book, hopefully you are following my advice and the advice of many other book publishing professionals, especially with an ebook, to have calls to action, clickable calls to action throughout to get people from your book onto something that you own, your email list, your website, where you can then, establish that relationship, nurture that relationship, and, take that lead generation from, again, follower to buyer. Hey there, business owner and aspiring or published author. Sorry to interrupt this episode. Just wanted to check in and see if you're subscribed to Coffee and Commas, my email newsletter, where I share behind the scenes, industry info, and much more about writing, publishing, and marketing a book for your business. Sign up at bit.ly redefine.com/coffee and commas sign up. That's all lowercase. Now back to the show. All of this, hopefully, is the wheels are turning in your head, but also you're hearing my voice from other episodes where I have said how important that foundational work is for what success looks like for you with your book, because this is another reason why it's so important. Because if you're not clear on those goals, you're not going to be looking at the right metrics. You're not going to be tracking the right pieces of data. And then how are you going to tweak a marketing plan or a publishing plan or an update revision plan if you don't know whether your goals are even being met? And again, I urge you to remember that book success probably is an invisible ROI. So some of these things you're going to be able to track in numbers, like book sales, like visibility opportunities, things like that. But there are lots of ways that you're not going to be able to, you might not be able to say at the end of the day, okay, before I published a book, my sales cycle was 7 months long. After I published the book, my sales cycle is 5 months long. Like it doesn't necessarily translate apples to apples like that. So think of book sales as a data point, but just one data point. There are also these other data points that you can look at to build the picture, to build the full picture. Some of it is going to be in clear-cut numbers and some of it is not. But if you are clear from the get-go of what book success looks like for you, within your business, your larger business ecosystem, not just with the book, and then you create your marketing efforts around that. Those efforts should support those goals, but they should also allow you to measure the data that you want to collect. Again, whatever that's going to look like for you. So I've given you a couple of ideas in this episode of things that you can think about, metrics that you can track. There are probably, again, sky's the limit here. You're only ruled by your imagination. But when you know how your book fits in, it's going to be a lot easier to establish those metrics that matter for you well beyond book sales. Now, listen, obviously we all want to sell books, but we recognize as business owners that the money is not directly in the book. Any book sales we can sell, awesome, great, fantastic, feels good, looks good, sounds good. But all of those other things that come with the book, getting people through the sales cycle to buy a coaching package or a course or a spot in a group program, the ROI there is much bigger, but it doesn't necessarily tie back directly, cleanly, evenly to book sales. So that's one of the frustrating parts, I'll be honest, about writing a book as a business owner, because you want that immediate ROI. You want to see I did this and this happened. I did this and this happened very quickly and easily and directly connected. And a lot of times with book success, it doesn't quite look like that. Again, like I said before, a book could not be selling a ton. Maybe you're giving a lot of copies away to, events where you're speaking. That's like built into your speaking fee. So those books aren't counting as book sales, but you're getting paid as the speaker. So you've got to figure out, what that's going to look like, how you want to track that in your business. And remember that even if a book isn't necessarily selling directly to consumers in a high volume, it can still be a high performing product within your business ecosystem. So I would say if you remember anything that I've said from this episode, please let it be this. Define what success looks like for you before your book is published. The earlier you can do this, the better. And then you can figure out what the right metrics are to see whether you're meeting those goals or not. You can track those metrics and then you can adjust, pivot, change course, reverse course, whatever you need to do accordingly. But if you don't know what you need to measure to determine that success and measure that success, then you're just collecting numbers that are sitting, in a Google sheet or an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, but they're not helping you. So you want to track things that are going to help you reach the success, however you define it for you, your book, and your business. Until next time, happy data collecting. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Write, Publish, Market podcast. I know just how busy business owners and CEOs' schedules are, and I'm grateful you've taken some time out of yours to spend with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, Take a quick screenshot and share it on social to let others know you're listening. Use the hashtag WritePublishMarket to spread the love.